Today I will discuss shared data, shared decisions, and how it provides a student-centered framework for building a healthy data culture. Williams challenges us to move beyond compliance-based data practices and towards collective ownership of student success. As a continuous improvement coordinator, this framework aligns deeply with my work because data is not just something we review, it is something we use to transform systems and outcomes. Williams emphasizes clarity of purpose. If we expect teams to engage meaningfully with data, they must understand why they are doing it and what success looks like. In my role, I facilitate shared data analysis by building structures where teams do not just look at numbers, they interpret, reflect, and act. My work ensures that shared decision making aligns systems, strengthens instruction, and drives measurable improvement across schools. My learning targets for this presentation is I can analyze shared data collaboratively and explain how shared decision making strengthens instructional planning, progress monitoring, and student outcomes. In addition to, I can explain how my work as a continuous improvement coordinator facilitates shared data analysis and shared decision making to align systems, build staff capacity, and drive measurable improvement across schools. Chapter 1, Shifting Mindset from Data-Driven to Student-Centered. Williams explains that being data-driven can unintentionally center numbers over people. Instead, he advocates for a student-centered approach grounded in the 5 T's: targeted, timely, trustful, transparent, and tenacious. He emphasizes normalizing data conversations, eliminating barriers, and focusing on collective efficacy. In action within my work as a continuous improvement coordinator, I work to remove the compliance mindset around state designations and progress monitoring. Through P2 R2 structures, which is protocols, procedures, roles, and responsibilities, I help teams take the personal out of data conversations and instead ask, what does this tell us about how we serve students better? Chapter 2, Becoming a Targeted Team. Williams stresses the importance of clarity, establishing essential standards, aligned assessments, learning targets, proficiency scales, and learning progressions. Teams must narrow their focus and design backwards from intended outcomes. This mirrors how I support quarter planning and strategic preparation. I guide teams to co-create exemplars, calibrate expectations, and use reflection strategically. When I facilitate planning sessions, the goal is always precision, being targeted rather than scattered. Chapter 3, Becoming a Timely Team. William emphasizes that data must be timely to be useful. Teams must clearly define the who, what, when, where, why, and how of data practices. Data digs should lead to immediate instructional response. In my experience, being timely means structuring meetings intentionally. I ensure teams have micro SMART goals, shared language, and supported next steps. Data without action is just noise. I focus on capacity building so that instructional adjustments happen in real time, not months later. Chapter 4, Becoming a Trustful Team. Trust is foundational. Williams distinguishes between climate and culture and explains that psychological safety allows educators to analyze results without defensiveness. Norms, clarity, and balanced approaches to data build confidence. In my role, I help to co-create norms and agendas that stabilize the emotional weight of data conversations. A lot of time in my experience, I have seen where within meetings, especially when talking about data, it can become personal. So, a goal of mine is to shift mindset from it being personal to shifting to looking at the work and what can be done next to support the students and their mastery. I often remind teams we are steadying the scale, not judging performance. By being present and solution oriented, I help staff see that we are all climbing together. Chapter 5, Becoming a Transparent Team. Transparency requires making data accessible and understandable. Williams notes that progress does not happen daily, but it does happen intentionally. Teams must identify growth areas openly and address barriers collaboratively. I operationalize this through shared dashboards, progress monitoring tools, and open communications about growth and opportunity areas. Transparency in my work means no surprises, just clarity and shared ownership. Something that I also want to share is that we all come with our unique experiences, and sometimes life just be life. But what we should consider is that things do happen, they just don't happen every day. And that's a model that I try to live by when supporting teachers, administrators, instructional teams. It's okay for things to not go as planned, and it's okay to some days not have such a good day. But if we keep in mind that things do happen and we'll be open and empathetic, but also acknowledging that it doesn't happen every day, we can truly support growth and movement together. Chapter 6, Becoming a Tenacious Team. Williams defines tenacity as sustained commitment, improving results unit to unit and year to year through continuous loops of progress monitoring. The guiding questions are: what is the goal? How do we get better? This directly aligns with how I support long-term improvement planning. I help teams set measurable goals, monitor consistently, share strategies, and adjust practices. Tenacity means we don't abandon the work when results are slow. We refine the process. I think this is key as well in terms of refinement because it's easy to do a lot of things, but it's hard to do a lot of things well. However, if you focus on one thing and you commit to it, although the progress may be a little slower, if you commit with it, you monitor, you adjust as needed, you can work on doing that one thing well. And once you kind of have it like a well-oiled machine, you can move on to other things. So that was key in this chapter, with knowing that have a focus, narrow that focus, monitor that focus, support that focus, and you'll see the improvement of what it is that you want to see. Chapter 7, Taking Action. Williams concludes with a reality check. Culture change requires action. Effective communication, differentiation, tiered supports, and clear expectations move schools from theory to implementation. For me, this is where advocacy lies. I focus on actionable steps. What can we implement today to change tomorrow? Whether through professional learning, modeling lessons, or supporting administrators, my role is to move ideas to practice. Key takeaways. As William emphasizes in Shared Data, Shared Decisions, climate is not a soft concept. It is the foundation of whether shared data practices succeed or fail. If educators do not feel psychologically safe, data becomes performative. If clarity is absent, collaboration becomes fragmented. If the why is not shared, compliance replaces commitment. For me, this is more than theory. I have seen firsthand how the tone of a room shifts when data conversations move from who didn't do their job to what systems need strengthening. Climate determines whether teachers lean in or shut down. Clarity determines whether action is aligned or scattered. Reflection is another critical takeaway. Data without reflection is simply reporting, but reflection invites ownership, and ownership builds collective efficacy. I consistently remind teams that numbers do not improve students, intentional responses do. The power of data lies in what we choose to do next. That is where leadership lies. Next steps. The next steps are not about adding more initiatives, they are about sustaining the right ones. William challenges leaders to institutionalize shared data practices so they outlive individual personalities or temporary urgency. That means embedding structures, not relying on motivation. In my role, continuing to advocate means protecting collaborative time, refining P2R2 systems, and ensuring progress monitoring cycles remain consistent, even when things feel stable. It means continuing to share resources and model what high quality data conversations look like. It also means continuing to push the shift from reactive to proactive. When I say I will continue being the change, I mean sustaining student centered decision making even when pressures shift towards compliance. True improvement requires tenacity, it requires alignment, and it requires leaders who are willing to consistently connect the work back to students. The work does not end with understanding the framework, it begins with living it. Every meeting, every cycle, and in every decision. As I close, I want to return to the central message of Shared Data, Shared Decisions by Jason Williams. This text is not simply about improving data meetings. It is about transforming school culture. Williams reminds us that shared data practices are ultimately about shared responsibility. When data is accessible, conversations are structured and decisions are collaborative. We shift from isolated effort to collective impact. For me, this book affirms the work I do daily. It validates the importance of building systems that outlast individuals. It reinforces why I prioritize clarity, proactive planning, and continuous progress monitoring. And it challenges me to remain intentional because culture does not shift accidentally. This framework strengthens my commitment to ensuring that every data conversation in the schools I support is grounded in purpose, aligned to student outcomes, and followed by actionable next steps. Thank you for engaging in this conversation with me. The work of shared data and shared decisions is ongoing, and I am committed to continuing it with integrity, focus, and tenacity. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my presentation.